And it's funny. It's like the more I tell that story, the more things flood back. But then again, I don't know if that really happened or if it's just my brain trying to like creating an urban legend. It's is I just exactly what you said, where I was like Vasile at the end of that. I was like, hey, you know what? Let me give you a 15-minute lesson. He'd give me a lesson. He goes like, all right, 3 points, you and me. And then we would fence. And I remember every now and then he would be like, if nothing works, just go crazy. Just make it feel opposite. Make it feel horrible. Just do something weird. And I remember same thing. He got 2 really quick, easy ones. And I was like, all right, this is going to be a fast night. I don't want it to be a fast night. I want to go a little bit more. So I remember thinking, go crazy. And I just, to me, it felt like I was going like this. And then all of a sudden I hear him go, oh, that's a good one. And I got him. I don't know. I felt like an octopus. It was like, I got him. Really? Okay. And then he goes, ready, fence. And I did it again. And he goes, oh, wow, you're finally learning. And then, of course, like, oh, I'm getting really cocky. Ready, fence, boom, he hits me. It's over. Let's go take a shower. But I remember against that guy, the exact same thing where I was just like, go crazy, just go crazy, right? The great thing about that moment was the fact that I was one of a handful of Americans that made it through to that final 64 or whatever it was. And I think most of the guys that were on the national team hadn't made it, and yet I had. And so now I'm against this guy. And so I was like, there isn't much more you can do. Just go crazy. I remember everyone was like this, and like, and then all of a sudden I'd see the green or whatever it was, the light go off, and then the referee would be like, point to me for the point. I'm like, really? Okay. Right. But it was at the same time, it's like the other guy would be like, okay, all right. And it was just simply ready, fence. And it's like, where did he go? And it's like, oh, wait a minute, he's behind me. But
in retrospect, when you think back and you absorb that and you kind of give it some deep thought on what you did and what you learned, my assumption just from playing golf and doing martial arts, and I didn't get to any high level. I think I did it for 5 years before the body's like, you can't be doing this. Because I was already beat up physically from playing golf by that point. But when you look back on that, and do you have a better understanding, of course, of why you had to do the monotonous, this is boring, exactly position way? Because when you did go crazy, that something in you deep down, the non-conscious, was taking over those little movements and doing it what it needed to, while the rest of you might have felt helter-skelter. But when you look back, did you recognize that, the importance of that, and then use that in your own teaching, whether it was in fencing or as you transferred into golf with students? And then did you have any comprehension of what, or take anything from what you called crazy to look back on it in your own brain in slow motion, say, this actually wasn't as crazy now that I have a chance to look at what I was doing. And it was actually not a bad thing, because you obviously scored 11 points on a guy that was one of the best in the world.
Yeah, 100%. I think you said it beautifully there. I look back on that and realize that all of that monotonous training was building a habit, building a skill, however you want to put it, to the point where I could do something without even thinking about it. It was just, I mean, even making hand gestures, it's, hey, you know what? 10 years ago, or like if I do something like that, like, hey, 20 years ago, I would have gotten a flick on somebody's shoulder just by doing something or whatever, right? Or I get a flashback in a moment of me doing something. Oh, no, it's not supposed to be this way. It's supposed to be that way, whatever it is. But yes, I think that what I realized is the craziness that I felt wasn't actually craziness. It was me breaking out of that comfort level. And so the craziness was the equivalent of me thinking that's wrong, that's bad, that's weird, that's unusual. In reality, what it was just different. But it was exactly what was needed in terms of me going against whoever it was I was going against, because they had recognized my pattern already and were using it against me. So I have to do something that's different. And so I think if we carry that over into golf, the golf course is the opponent. So really what you're looking at is, if you keep hitting the shot a certain way and it's unsuccessful or it's not a good shot, it's just by default, do something different. Just, for shits and giggles. Just do something different. Just see what happens. A quick example would be if someone's slicing the ball, I would just ask him, do you know, what does it feel like to hook a ball? Oh, it feels like this. All right. What do you think of that? It just feels weird. It feels whatever. So, well, can you take these 5 balls and just try to hook all of them? And somewhere along the way, sometimes it's the first ball or the second ball, all of a sudden the ball just goes way straighter. It's not necessarily a good shot. It just goes straighter just because I've gotten them to just decide to do something different than what their ingrained pattern is in that moment. And a lot of times when I'm doing that, I get a flashback to those 2 moments when I was fencing.
Hmm. Yeah, I think what we were talking about in the pre-show, and if we have time, we'll get into it, that the going well beyond someone's comfort level, even if it's in golf. So going beyond just hitting balls for half an hour and doing this, it might be monotonous. It might be considered block training. And, there's been enough discussion about that. And that's a separate topic we can get into versus variable and all those other things. But having someone hitting shots and then say, okay, you're getting a little fatigued, let's take time off. No, at some point they're going to be, we need to break through this. And for the immediate time that they break through it, it's going to be crazy as you describe it. But pretty soon, as they go beyond that and they get into the abyss, so long as their focus and their intent is on something and they have some fundamentals that the coach implemented with them and they can hold the course, that abyss and that out in the middle of the universe is not going to be as scary if they have some focus on what they're doing and they stay committed to that. And then it goes to a whole new level, as you did. You don't even know how you did it. But it was that breaking through of your comfort level or what you had become used to. And as you said, that opponent recognized those motion patterns and it's like, well, shit, now I got to do something. Can't keep doing the same thing.
Yeah. And I think the commentary of you have to learn to be comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Uh-huh.
It's like, to me, that is the norm. It's, if it's not working, why do you keep doing it? Right. The definition of insanity. And so I remember I went and saw this high level instructor just to visit him for the day, and he said, "Oh, you want a lesson?" I was like, "Sure, okay." So we were doing some stuff, and it's not like I qualified for 15 U.S. Opens. It's just like, yeah, just some help with my swing and stuff, and I think 2/3 of the way into the lesson, he looks at me, he goes, "You are really, really adaptable. You're like one of the easiest people I've ever worked with." It's like, and he turned it around. He goes like, "It's exactly what we're talking about." I was like, why are you so easily embracing things? What is it you're telling yourself? And it's exactly that. It's like, it's got to feel different. It's like, why would I want it to feel the same? If I wanted the same, I wouldn't ask for the lesson.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, it's got to feel different. It's got to feel weird. And like, the thing that he pointed out is whatever he was telling me to do, he'd be like, yeah, that's pretty good. Wow, you got it right away. I thought it was going to take you a while. And it was like, no. And then I would even say to him, can I do it even more? Should I try to do it even more? Should I make it really, really? And he'd be like, well, yeah, let's see how far you can go. And he said that was one of the few times where, instead of him saying, try to do it more, that it was the student saying, can I do it even more than that? Can I make it even weirder? Can I make it even more uncomfortable? Right. And I remember his comment was, as long as you don't hurt yourself, you're good. And that was just something that I got from those days in fencing, and I try to carry that over into students, and I think with golf, because we judge ourselves on the result so much that we label ourselves. And so just getting that point across to people, and it's hard. It's in this conversation, we're making it sound like it's real easy. Oh, just do this and you'll be fine. Right. But it's not.
Miserable.
It's miserable. Juniors are often thinking their parents are going to hate them just because they hit a bad shot and stuff. And it's parents recognizing, hey, that frown on your face is the child's, you're telling the child, you let me down.
Mm-hmm.
But going back, it's like, yeah, I'm students are always kind of looking at me going like, really, you don't care? Meaning, when I ask them to do something, I first thing I say to them is like, I don't care where the ball goes. I don't care if you miss it or top it. It's like the world's not going to end. And then, of course, what happens? They go, okay, no problem. They hit a shot, and immediately they go like, oh, why I hit a bad shot? And I go, are you still alive? Yeah. Did the hand of God come down and smite you down where you stood? No. Did the grounds open up and swallow you whole? No. All right, next ball. Right? You did what I wanted. Good. next ball. And so just constantly reinforcing that it's not that uncomfortable is great, but uncomfortable is, you should accept it as a sign that you're learning, you're adapting, you're
Yeah, I
adjusting.
think it's a requirement. It's part of the
Yeah,
recipe that you're not going to get a great outcome, cake, dinner, etc., without that part of the recipe. It's like leaving something out.
that's exact. I use the exact same analogy. I'll say this is you, especially with kids, like this is you eating the vegetables. This is you eating the liver. This is you eating that food that your parents said you got to finish your plate and you hate that stuff. All
Uh-huh.
right. Well, guess what? What's your favorite dessert? Here it comes. All right. That's coming. Whether that's somewhere down the road or like a lot of kids, can we hit driver now? Sure. Let's do a long drive contest. And it's like, woo, thank God. It's like, yeah, hey, listen, that 45 minutes, you worked really hard. You earned this. Here's your dessert. Let's go. Let's have some fun with this.
Yeah,
And
I would have to relate the 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 constant development or focus on fundamentals in your fencing, and I know that you do it in your junior schools. I've seen enough of your information. I've heard you talk enough, show examples, etc. But the development and the monotony of developing the simple fundamentals would be the equivalent of eating your vegetables and eating your chicken and liver and the healthy food so that you don't get sick. But in the event that you do get sick, we have the medicine for your swing that I can help you fix it. Dr. Hong's going to come in and fix your swing. But if you don't do these things and get your vitamins, minerals, nutrients, etc., on a regular basis, meaning your fundamentals or if that's a word in golf anymore, I don't want to have anybody get ticked off and say, you don't know, that's the wrong. I think everyone knows what I'm saying. If you don't do these things that are important to your game, the basics, then you're going to continue to get sick, and I'm going to have to continue to come in, and you're not going to advance. You're not going to reach the levels that you stated that you wanted to get to when we first started.
yeah, I think I still use the word fundamentals or ABCs, but what I tell a lot of the kids, and I say the same thing to adults, it doesn't matter. It's that these are the basics, these are the fundamentals. And what's going to happen is as you progress and you improve, you will actually create your own ABCs and you will do your own thing. We talk about wedges all the time where it's like, oh, weight's got to be forward or left, weight's left, and everything and stuff. But then you pop up a video of Sevi talking about a flop shot, and he's like, well, put your weight on the right,
Mm-hmm.
right? And that's his ABCs. And it's not right or wrong. That's part of what makes him great. Whether that makes you great, nobody knows until you try it, right? But if you're coming through the door for the first time and you're saying you're a beginner, what club should I buy? It's like, I'm going to have your weight on your left for wedges. And it's the same thing with the advanced juniors is I tell them it's you're moving towards creating your ABCs. And so the early lessons were always like, all right, step 1 is this, step 2, step 3, step 4. Now it's more of like, so what do you think works for you best? What did you find out works for you best? Well, you know how you told me to do this? Well, I noticed that when I did it a little bit more like that, like I hit the ball better. Okay, that's fine. That's
Good.
that's yours now.
You own it. That's what we're doing.
That's it.